good. We're just, our cycles are the same. Hi guys.
Hi,
Hello.
you just collecting goodies the whole way?
I am.
Okay.
Swag.
I'm still nerding out about this.
Everybody adjust.
Did y'all see this?
Yes.
So I've read this a bunch of times, the whole trilogy, and I guess he was contacting me, and they were like, listen, Padalecki's a big fan, if you want to come over, and he came over and signed it, so it's pretty happy, a little nerding out.
So Jared, you
yes.
have talked in the past about wanting Butch and Sundance.
Yes.
Lately you've been saying, oh, a little more open-ended is good.
Yeah.
You now know the end of
I
the
do.
show. How do you feel about it?
How do you know I know the end?
Because you said it in Dallas. Paying attention.
That's why I gotta stop talking.
Paying attention.
Now that I know the ending, to clarify about the Butch and Sundance type ending, I think the subtext to that was that I wanted peace for Sam and Dean, whether it was alive or dead. I didn't want them to be ghosts in the veil or, locked up in hell or even drugged in heaven, or not drugged, but you know what I mean, and living a fake life of all their best memories in heaven. I want to just, carry on my wayward son, there will be peace when you are done. Whatever done means, I wanted them to be done more than dead. I'm not saying whether or not they are simply done or dead in the end. I feel like, as the end currently stands, they have found a version of peace. And that makes me happy. Also, I believe in 14 years, the final episode that was written, or, Exploding Doc, in the head of whoever was running the show, whether it was Eric or Sarah or Jeremy or Andrew and Bob. I feel like the final episode of the season has never been what they thought it was going to be. Episode 1 of the season. I know that Genevieve was supposed to be in like 4 episodes, and she ended up getting killed by Dean. You know what I mean? So I think that's one example. But I feel like it's never been. I'm very pleased with the current ending. I'm also. It's a coin toss on whether or not that becomes the actual end. You know what I mean? So this early on, I haven't even filmed yet, so we still have a long way to go.
How quickly did you come to a consensus that this is the right time to end the show?
It was a conversation, and I think it's been said, so I'll man up and admit to it. It was, and it sounds arrogant, but it was Jensen and my choice, decision. We were welcomed back, and I think Mark Pedowitz said that and he wasn't. I'm trying to say Mark Pedowitz wasn't lying when he said the show will go as long as Jared and Jensen wanted to go, and he allowed us to find out, or come to our consensus. It took a long time, years. We've been talking about it. It's such a weird thing to say because, especially as an actor, you're like hoping for an audition, to hope for the 1 in 100 chance to get a call back, to hope that somebody thinks you did a decent job, to hope for a job for 3 days.
We're on the clock, man.
We're on the clock, man.
You're getting gold here. Come on.
Now you know what it's
Somebody's going to listen to the words.
It's a recorder. Now you know what it's like to pick up your own set. It was a long, we talked about it for a long time. It was a very weird transition to basically beg for a job for years and years and years, to pray to Chuck that it gets picked up for years and years and years, and then get to a place where they're now saying to you, like, hey, you want to do some more? I never thought I'd be given this responsibility. I don't know how I feel about that. It took a long time. And I think sometime, I honestly think it was sometime season 13 where Jensen and I kind of sort of went like, too many. I think, and he can correct me. And there's, it's really weird. This is maybe a bad analogy, but I had to put down a dog that I've had she was going to turn 16 in March, and I had to put her down in January. It was a different situation because she was blind and deaf. Like, I'm not saying like, well, now Supernatural's blind and deaf and, you know, pooping itself in its sleep. Like that's not the same. I feel like Supernatural is still strong, but Sadie, my girl, she was still alive. Like she was still living. She just couldn't hold her faculties, and she couldn't walk, and she couldn't hear, and she couldn't see. But she was like, we took her to the vet, and the vet would be like, she's really feeling well. Like she is not unhealthy, you know. So it was a weird. And then it kind of, and you know, she deteriorated. Supernatural's not deteriorating, I guess is the difference. But it came to the point of like, okay, I think this is the right time. Like it's a weird decision. And then I'm gonna sell them out. When Jensen got to Vancouver 2 weeks ago, I have a text message from him. He's like, "Man, crazy being back in Vancouver. I feel like we could do 2 more years." I was like, "Let's talk, man." Like,
We're there for you, believe me.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be. I don't want it to be like Lord of the Rings that had like 15 endings.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think it's really difficult. It's really difficult. But I do feel like I'm gonna get back on set and be like, why are we not coming back here? You know? But it took a long time. We certainly talked about it ending for years. We talked about it ending for 14 years. You know, whether by our hands or somebody else's hands, or by happenstance, or by the network getting bought out or whatever. You know, so we've been dancing with death for 14 years, much like the Winchester brothers, never knowing when it was going to be time.
When Mark said that it was going to be that you and Jensen could be the ones to decide, and it'll go as long as you want to go, was that a blessing or a curse?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
That's a lot in your shoes, I imagine.
It also, I mean, he meant it. Pedowitz, for those who haven't met him, is a phenomenal man.
Yeah.
Great guy, great family man, you know, brilliant businessman, and kind and honest. And the things that he's said that he was going to do, like he's been, you know, you work for people that don't necessarily stick by what they say. They say it just so, like, you know, win one for the Gipper kind of situation. He meant it.
Yeah.
I guess it was more of a blessing, though it certainly was difficult.
Right.
You know, to have that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just like Jensen and I made the decision together, and then we talked with Mark and Peter and Bob. Like, it wasn't like we showed up and like, peace, we're out. You know? So it was more involved than that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you ever do a series in the future?
I hope not. I hope not. We'll see if there's something. I've been fortunate enough to work for 20 years, as you know. You know, we've been known each other for a long time now. We'll see. If there's a story that comes across my desk that I feel really passionate about, I guess I'll have a talk with my real boss, Genevieve, and my 3 loudest employees, Tom, Shep, and Odette, and or dependents. We'll see. We'll see. I'm looking for gainful employment by any means.
It'd be hard to top.
It'd be impossible to top this. I'll never have this again, no doubt. If there is a story that I'm lucky enough to audition for or took a meeting for that I really believe in, then I'll do it again.
Well, you've said you might want to produce.
Yeah.
You've said you might want to retire. You said you'd look for movies. I mean, it's been. Do you know anything closer to?
I don't know anything about anything. I would love to. Honestly, if I didn't have a mortgage, I would love to never be in front of a camera again. But that having been said, I do love telling stories. I love storytelling, and I love learning. I love what I get to learn in the process of storytelling. It's made me, I think, a better person, father, husband, friend, son, brother, driver. So, though I still have work to do there probably. I'm trying to toe the line between, I don't want to sound ungrateful. Like, I'm so, on stage, I couldn't help but tear up and think, like, I'm the most lucky dude on the planet, you know, like, I met my wife and had some healthy, beautiful kids, and was able to buy a house and able to buy clothes that this gave me my dearest friends. So I don't want to sound like I'm not outrageously grateful for that. I'd like to meet my wife and kids, And I don't know if I can do that 9 months a year in Vancouver. And they probably don't want to meet me. Like, wait, why are you here? Why are you here so much? When do you go back to? Hey, Daddy, when do you go back to work? So we'll see. If I get an opportunity that I believe in, then yeah, I'd love to try and be part of it.
Jensen mentioned that last night you guys talked quite a bit about, this is your last holiday situation. Going up there, being on the stage, and now being off the stage, was that more nerve-wracking than usual? Do you feel a sense of relief now?
I walked on stage there's a weird feeling when 7,000 people start clapping for you before you come out of a curtain. And honestly, it's intoxicating. You're like, I'm badass. It's just impossible to not have an endorphin rush of Jesus, I'm even cooler than I thought I was. And I think I'm pretty cool. Just kidding. But then I kind of started having out of body experiences when I started remembering man, this is it. I kind of wanted to sit out there with my phone and just film my perspective. I almost did. And then Spate and Benedict were like, hey, we're going to bring you and Jensen out together because it's you guys. And I was like, you should. So I wasn't going to walk out holding a phone. If it was just me, I would have been like, hey, this is what it's, But walking out with my brother, I'm not going to be holding the phone. I'll have it here forever. It's a really humbling experience. And became terrifyingly emotional. And Misha and Jensen and I were all like, no crying, no crying. Fuck, you're not going to cry. It's dirt. Yeah, you couldn't help but get emotional. Just the feeling of gratitude. Who's this looking dude?
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say real quick before they shut us off. As the show went on 15 years, went on so long, did it become harder or easier to sustain it, to keep the engine going?
Interesting. We became more efficient at it. I suppose easier because we were logistically, we were better at learning lines. We knew our characters really well. We were able to fight for different storylines that were already established. The growing pains in the beginning are real. In episode 3 of this series, you could say, what was the demon thing to find? You had to say a word, and you could find in Phantom Travel on the airplane, Cristo, and then you spend 8 days making it Cristo, and find out who's a demon or who's not a demon, and then they do all the visual effects, special effects, all the editing. We do all the voiceover for it, and then it airs, and you're that's kind of a cheat code. We probably shouldn't have that in the rest of the series. It's the growing pains were legit. And so as it went on, it became such a family down south in the writer's room and producers, and up north on the ground, that it became second nature, And I think it's not, and some people I think tune out and stop caring so much. That's not why Jensen and I do the show. With some actors, you can't really blame them, I suppose. But we were always so passionate about the story and these characters that we get to portray that we never, there's a saying called phoning it in, so we never felt I'm just going to phone this one in. It was more how can we make this cool, which was fun to get. So I feel like it became easier.
Do you think that you guys will make a point to work together again, because you work together so well?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. 100%.
Looking to do it? Are you guys talking about it now even?
Not just yet. I think we still, if this is the final game of the semifinals, we're not talking about who we're going to play in the finals just yet. We still have, this is 5 minutes to go in the World Cup final, and we're tied. So we're not talking about overtime or the shootout just yet. We did talk about it last night that whatever is or isn't next. If he calls me and says hey, I'm producing this or directing this and I need a dude with a big forehead, I'll be like, when and where, man? Pay me what you can and tell me what flight I'm on. Where do I go? And vice versa. So anytime, whether he's a director or an actor, and whether he wants me to help produce it or direct it or cast it. I honestly feel like I'd be best out of everything in the business in casting, and maybe that's as a producer casting. But I feel like when Leslie Odom was on the show, you're like, they can act. When Sterling, it was like that guy's going places. We've had people, even Alden, who didn't have lines, and Wendigo, I was like, dude's good, he's smart. Sure enough, I feel like I'm better at recognizing talent than being like the guy with the talent kind of thing. So even if, in whatever capacity he wants me to come work with him, absolutely, and vice versa. I haven't really thought about it yet, just because we still got a steep hill to climb. So we're kind of focusing on the task at hand.
What would you like people to remember about Sam, about Jared, and about the show?
I think that answer is all the same. That, pardon my French, you can fuck up and still be good. You can fuck up and keep going. Pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have setbacks. Try and keep going. Always keep fighting. The idea of no matter what you're up against, keep on, do what you can to keep on going. It's difficult, Whether you have beautiful, wealthy people who commit suicide, and you have people who aren't as fortunate, who are the happiest in the for me, it's working towards that mindset of I'm going to try and do the best I can, be loyal and grateful for what I have and those around me, and try and keep one foot in front of the other. And I feel like that I hope that's what Sam means to people. I hope it's what Jared means to people. I hope it's what Supernatural ends up meaning to people. We'll see. We have 20 more episodes, so do our damn best.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Very much. Thank you, guys.
We're going to have to start a casting.
There's going to be a.
Hey, you caught my hint.